This is the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. The question of the day is, are you a slave to sex? Most guys are. It's no secret. Men have a massive sex drive. And unless they learn how to control and channel this energy, this massive force that runs through our veins, that runs through our system, that desires to be expelled, that desires to be released, unless we retain this force, it'll be wasted. If we retain it, we can use it to develop mastery in every single aspect of life. Those that do not restrain that energy and just simply let it go and sow their wild oats, they are missing out on massive opportunities that could have been theirs if they practiced self-control. A good way to find out if you are a slave to sex or not is to take the test. Seed retention. How long are you able to go without busting a nut? How long? You can manage 10 days? Can you manage 20, 30, 60, 90 days? If you can manage 90 days, you have proven to yourself that you are not a slave to sex. Why is seed retention a test to figure out your state of slavery? Because those who don't manage to control themselves will never achieve the levels of success that they could have had if they had restrained themselves. They're simply not desirous enough for greater things. The reason why seed retention is such an amazing test is because that over time, when you practice seed retention and you manage to get past the first 30 days, because that's the hardest part, your body begins to make it so that you no longer need sex. For those of you who've managed to practice 90 days, you know what I'm talking about. You've come to a point where you basically, I could live like this forever. I don't need sex. And this is what's amazing when it comes to the difference between men and women. Women physiologically need sex more than men and actually break down mentally way faster if they don't have sexual access. For us guys, we don't have mental breakdowns if we don't have access to sex. And if we do, it's because we're feminine. But a masculine man, someone who has actually managed to get past the first 90 days, he can simply go on and be like, man, I actually don't need it. Now I can move on with my life. Finally. Oh my gosh. All these years I could have spent my time differently. Instead of watching that filth online, instead of spending time with myself, I could have been out there actually making a massive difference in people's lives and received massive amounts of abundance back in return. Let's understand what abundance in every single category of life means. Relationships. In order for you to have abundance in relationships, it's not just about having abundance of women to sleep with. There's tons of guys who have an abundance of women to sleep with, but who are miserable. Like, what's up with that? It's because those relationships very often are shallow. Shallow relationships. The joy in a relationship comes from the depth. Now, some guys would say, I don't want depth, but they're missing out. That depth is what produces joy and happiness. It's the same thing with friends. You want to have depth, not just shallow acquaintances. You want to have someone who's got your back no matter what. You want to have someone that if there was an apocalypse of some sort and you and your friends were the only ones that survived, you guys would be actually grouping together, and you know what? I'm backing you up no matter what, because I trust you, I believe in you, and you're my friend, and we're loyal. It's win-win. It's both people desiring to be in that relationship. What's possible if you actually manage to overcome your bondage, your slavery to sex? What would be possible? What would be possible for you to achieve in your life in the next 10 years? You overcome your sexual need for sex. Suddenly the whole world opens before you. And it's like you could choose this path, this path, this path. And it's actually easy to progress because you no longer are distracted and interrupted in your flow. You actually now can set up the necessary habits in your life to massively progress in the direction of your dreams and goals. There's like nothing stopping you. Especially if you manage to set aside women at the same time and commit to being temporarily a voluntary celibate for a specific amount of time or until you've reached some certain milestones of goals. I'm not talking about 5 years, 10 years without women. I'm talking about imagine what you could do with 2 or 3 years where you just basically put your head down and massively work, but not in a minimum wage job, but massively work on building a system that works independently of your physical presence and mind. That's what you should be working on for 2 to 3 years. Massive focus, uninterrupted, and develop habits so that everything happens naturally and on its own. That's what's possible with seed retention. Once you get over your seed retention issues, your seed production will be on automatic, fueling you and your habits and your energy towards your dreams and goals instead of towards your distractions. The financial aspects, man. If you guys can figure that thing out. I had such a hard time overcoming this one because of religion, believing that money was a bad thing and that I shouldn't really get rich because it's bad for other people and it's greedy and blah, blah, blah. I'm so glad I got over that. Oh my gosh. What can you do with money? What can you do with money? It's amazing what you can do with money. There's a fantastic book written by Malcolm Gladwell called The Outliers. Outliers is about the research that has gone into understanding world-class performers. Okay, like real world-class performers. Those that are like elite at the top level, kind of Olympians type thing, multi-millionaires, all those guys. And what he discovered was the concept of 10,000 hours. That it requires 10,000 hours to become a master in anything. Not only a master, but like a world-class performer in that specific niche or direction. 10,000 hours. If we're talking about 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 5 years to become a world-class performer in anything. 5 years. You increase that to 10 hours per day, and you increase Saturdays. You increase that to 10 hours per day, and work a little bit of weekends too. We're talking about cutting it down to 4 years of becoming a world-class guy in whatever it is that you want to be world-class in. Once you become world-class at something, and imagine if it's business, you now have the money to hire other masters and coaches so that they can work for you, because you've got something that they want, and then they've got something that you want, and then you create a win-win situation. Think about it. I just wrote down a quick list of what kind of coaches you could get hold of. I mean, you can use me as a coach, but I'm an affordable coach. You can afford that now. But I wrote down martial arts. I wrote down PTs. Like having a guy who continuously works with you and he works for you full time. That's possible. Learning how to use guns. Survival. You're learning how to use knives. I mean, come on. Being a chef or having chefs so that you can work uninterrupted and not have to make it yourself, and always have a ready, nutritious meal ready for you. I mean, what a luxury that is. And fly an airplane or a helicopter. Learning languages. There's so many things. I would say the ultimate though, relationships. Understanding the woman. Paying for coaches. Paying for guys who know what they're talking about when it comes to women. Where there's basically a system that needs to be followed, and if you follow that system, you're going to have deep, fantastic relationships with high-quality women and retain them. One of those things could be learning ejaculation control, sexual kung fu, being able to be a master in the bedroom. You can pay for that information, put into a system so you actually are progressing towards that goal. It takes money. And the thing is that if you actually figure out the money situation first, without all the distractions, without releasing your seed, without wasting your time in front of your computer screen, not accomplishing anything or doing any service to anyone. If you can get yourself together, take the stress test. Figure out if you are able to control yourself. Figure out if you are a sex slave or if you are someone that can truly become a master in every single category of life. Can you become a master at relationships? Can you become a master at money? Can you become a master at health so you can for sure live until you're 100 plus? Tons of people have done that before you. You can too, but it depends on the choices that you take. And it depends on you having the money to have people working for you so that you can work more optimally for everyone else. The more money you have, the more good you can do for other people. And the one thing that's stopping you from making tons of money is you being a slave to sex and women. Get rid of it. Temporarily become a voluntary celibate, where you basically say, for the next 2 years, 3 years, or until I reach, for example, $10,000 in passive income, I will not be interested in any sexual relationship or romantic relationship. I will not be interested in watching any filth online. I will not be interested in releasing my seed, because that seed's purpose is to be working in me, not to be wasted on the wayside. If you can learn these things at an early age, even more amazing. You can do amazing things. You've got no idea the potential that you have in you. I've seen enough people who massively struggled, who became masters in their own lives, to know that it's possible for anyone, no matter your past. You can change it. You can change the narrative right now. Embrace the past that you've had, learn from it, understand that it is what it is. Your life is the way that it is right now. Your environment, your past environment has created who you are right now, but you can set up a different environment for the future. You've got that choice. But first, the stress test. 30 days, get past 30 days, But it's not over until you get to 90 days of seed retention. Figure it out, watch more of my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.